Okay, guys, we're ready to rock and roll. Give me 1 second. How many we got? 25. Okay. All right, guys. Very nice. Let me see here. One more thing. I don't want to be scrolling as I'm talking to you guys. All right. Let's take this thing right here. Hold on a second. Oh. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. Guys, I switched from Topo Chico. Guys, I switched from Topo Chico to Gerolsteiner from the beautiful town of Gerolstein, Germany. I'm not sponsored. I would love to be sponsored by a drink. That'd be nice, but no one has reached out yet. I've actually reached out. No one has answered. But in any case, let me explain how my lives go for you guys that have not seen any of my lives. So I always make a board with different topics, and I go through all these topics. And in between, I'm going to get into the chat and answer some questions. And it's going to be for sure more chill than my usual videos. We'll, chat a little bit, take our time. And let's start off with the Sunshine Triple, guys. The Sunshine Triple. Maybe it could be a Sunshine Quadruple, or maybe even a Sunshine Quintuple. What I'm talking about is the possibility of Sinner winning Indian Wells, Miami, Monte Carlo, Madrid, and Rome. Is it possible? Those tournaments are sunny. Maybe he can get 5 in a row. He's that good that he would be able to pull off something like that. But I think Carlitos, I've seen him practicing, he's going to be ready to reclaim his title as the clay king. But it's going to be super interesting to see, how Sinner's baseline game will hold up on clay, because there has been so many theories about why Sinner's baseline game looks a little bit different from the way it looked in 24 and 25. And in my latest video on YouTube, there were a lot of comments and a lot of theories why Sinner is doing what he's doing from the baseline. And I've shared my reasonings why his baseline game is off. I'll just give you a quick summary. I think when he's serving the way he has been serving, which is incredible, serving aces, serving a lot of service winners, his ace count is way up. I'm not sure of the service winner count. That's not readily available, but not that many balls are coming back into play. And a lot of times, Sinner will clean up after a big serve. He'll hit a lot of swing volleys with his forehand. He's exceptional at that shot, by the way. The Sinner forehand swing volley is really good. Something that's actually quite unusual on the ATP Tour. I'm seeing it more and more now, but for sure more of a WTA play. Now, I'm not saying that Sinner does a WTA play, but that swing volley is an exceptional shot, especially on a floaty high return like that. But in any case, Sinner is hitting less balls when he's serving like that. He's not getting that much rhythm. He's basically killing his own rhythm. I brought up the examples of Sampras and Nadal. Sampras wanted to kill the opponent's rhythm. He didn't care about his own. And Nadal didn't like serving aces because he didn't want to kill his own rhythm. So that's one possible explanation. And also the fact that some players, not all of them, because Sinner's baseline game hasn't always been shaky. There's been matches where Sinner plays the same way from the baseline that he has in 2024, 2025. But for example, of course, Djokovic, Menchik, but then even Fonseca in Indian Wells, Medvedev in Indian Wells, Mickelson in Miami, to some extent, Lehechka as well. I don't think it was that clean of a set. To some extent, the second set against Zverev too, it wasn't that great from the baseline, relatively speaking, to Jannik. We're comparing Jannik to Jannik. So those matches were performed tactically well by the opponent. So the opponents were blasting. Fonseca was blasting, Medvedev was blasting, Zverev, and so on. Guys are coming out with different game plans against Sinner because they know they have few chances from the baseline. So that can kill his rhythm as well. And of course, in the case of Lehechka, he came to the net a lot. That's another way to kill Sinner's rhythm. Now, the theories in my latest video where I talked about the Sunshine Double, there were so many crazy ones. One common one that I saw was that Sinner is trying to preserve his longevity. So I guess because he's serving better, that's why he's going to preserve his longevity. But then why is he standing further back and not playing as aggressive and keeping the ball in play more? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And, when it comes to tennis, I've talked about this so many times in my videos. Players don't look that far ahead. You can't look that far ahead in the game of tennis. Not in a single tournament, not in a single match, and for sure not like for the rest of your career. Of course, you're going to do everything you can to have a long career. So you're going to do your physical work. You're going to do the pre-match and post-match work. You're going to take care of your nutrition, your lifestyle. All that is going to give you a better chance to play longer. You're going to hire the best possible staff that you can hire. That can make you play longer. But when it comes to, your game style, of course, you're going to build your repertoire. In the case of Jannik Sinner, he's improved tremendously. His drop shots have gotten better. His volleys have gotten better. Of course, his serve. So he's building his repertoire to become a better player. But as far as longevity and looking ahead, some people have said that he's doing this so he can have a chance against Alcaraz. Think about it. Why would playing longer rallies and playing the ball higher and playing further behind the court be better against Alcaraz? That makes zero sense. The old way to play against Alcaraz, from center was to blast the ball and keep the rally short and break Alcaraz's rhythm. That's the way to play against Alcaraz. So that doesn't make any sense either. And back to the longevity thing, players don't look that far ahead. They can't. They look at the next match because you can't just build your game for Alcaraz. That's not a smart way to do it. Of course, like I said in the beginning, you're going to widen your repertoire and become a better player. That's going to, of course, help you against Alcaraz, but you don't want to look that far ahead because you are expecting yourself to get to the final to face Alcaraz, and there are so many hurdles along the way. There are so many great players. So, for example, in Miami, Sinner's preparation prior to the Mute match is going to be different than prior to the Mickelson match, and so on. Sinner is going to have to prepare for each individual match. Also, what happens in the previous match will determine the preparation for the next match. So let's say Sinner has a day where he's missing the slice backhand or he's double faulting. He for sure will practice his second serve and his slice backhand prior to the next match. So looking that far ahead is complete nonsense. Players don't do that. And if they do, they're probably struggling on the ATP Tour. If you listen to the greatest players of all time, they don't look that far ahead. They look at the next match, most famously Nadal. It always cracked me up when he would roll up to Roland Garros, and the first round and the second round, he'd play a guy lower ranked between 50 and 100 or something like that. And they would ask him about the quarterfinals or the finals or whatever. And Rafa would say, I got a very dangerous opponent in the next round. This is going to be a very difficult match. And then it would be like 6-0, 6-1, 6-1 or something like that. But I believe Rafa. He took those guys seriously. And that's the thing, guys. It has nothing to do with longevity, the reason why Sinner is making more mistakes. It's super complex. It's likely due to those factors that I mentioned, or maybe some other ones. But I do also think that Sinner can turn it on just like that and find his best tennis. I do think that also if he faces Alcaraz, that he might find his best tennis because Alcaraz requires Sinner's best tennis if Sinner wants to have a chance to beat Alcaraz. So I think that style of Sinner that we've seen in 24 and 25 is going to come back. And some people have said that he's playing like this in Miami to prepare for the clay court season. That's also nonsense. Players take these tournaments seriously. It's a Masters 1000. Okay. So I'm not saying it will, but it can hurt you in the beginning of the clay court season if you lose in the first, second, or third round of Miami, like Alcaraz did. I don't think it would hurt him, but theoretically it could. Of course, it's going to help you if you go into the clay court season with one title on the hard court or two titles. In Sinner's case, both of them consecutively. He's going to go in there relaxed and with a lot of confidence. So I think Sinner is going to have great chances to finally make a final in Monte Carlo. He was in the semis twice, I think, or three times. Last year or the year before, 24, was very bad luck against Tsitsipas. So let's see what happens. I'm super excited about the clay season. It's my favorite time of the year for sure, but we have to wait until the draws come out. But I'm going to transition into something dealing with the clay court season prior to getting into the chat, guys. And the next topic on the board is Arnaldi and Altmaier. Do you guys know Arnaldi and Altmaier? Arnaldi beat Djokovic last year at Madrid. Fantastic player, career high ranking of 29 in the world. Let me read you Arnaldi's results this year. You're not going to believe this, guys. You're not going to believe these results. Just give me 1 second here until I find it. Okay, so he has not won a match yet. Brisbane, he lost to Hijikata, first round. Melbourne, Grand Slam, he lost to Rublev, straight sets. Then in Indian Wells, first round, he lost to Mackenzie McDonald, 0-1. He lost to Shevchenko in a tough 3-set match in Miami in the first round. And I really thought, when I looked at the draw in Bucharest, that against Molchan, who came from the qualies, that Arnaldi is going to find his game because he's an exceptional clay court player. But he lost to Molchan, 3-1. And he is now ranked 107 in the world. So this is the brutality of tennis, guys. That the fact that you can be a top 30 player, you can take out Djokovic in Madrid on center court, and you get into a slump like this that's so tough to get out of. I always feel for players that get into a slump like this. And a lot of you guys actually in the comments have asked me about Altmaier, because towards the end of last year, they were showing stats for the fastest backhands on the ATP Tour. And in the top 5, 2 of the fastest backhands of 2025 was Altmaier with his one-hander. He's a fantastic player. If you saw his match against Tsitsipas at the US Open, he was serving volleying a lot. This is a fun player to watch. And of course, he's got a one-hander, which makes it even more fun to watch. But this year, Altmaier has not won a single set yet. So let me read you Altmaier's results. And if you thought that Arnaldi's were shaky, check this out. Brisbane, he loses to Mike Schuck, straight sets, 6-0. Adelaide, he loses to Munar, 3-0. Melbourne, he loses to Cilic in a weird match that I reported on, 0-0 the first 2 sets. And then he loses 7-6 in the third. I'm sure you guys remember that one. Then he plays Cerundolo, his brother, not Juan Manuel Cerundolo, the lefty. He loses to him in Buenos Aires, 2-2. Then he goes to Rio, loses to Lajovic, who's about to retire, I think. You know, he's like getting through the qualies. Lajovic, not the player that he once was, still an exceptional clay court player. He won that tournament in Belgrade, I remember. He beat Djokovic. Fantastic player. But he's struggling to get back into the top 100, let's put it that way. And Altmaier loses to him, 4-6 in Rio. Then he goes off to Acapulco and loses to Davidovich Fokina, 5-3. Then he goes to Indian Wells. He retires in the second set after losing the first 6-3 against Kecmanovic. And he goes to Miami and loses to Atman, 4-2. So think about the level of player that Altmaier is. Top 50 player. Right now he's ranked 52. But this is a top 50 player, fantastic player. And he has a hard time winning a single set on the ATP Tour, very similar to Arnaldi. And I do think that a lot of European guys, independent of the country they come from, they're very comfortable in the clay. And just like Arnaldi, I was very interested to see how Altmaier was going to do on the clay. And contrary to Arnaldi, I think Altmaier is back. Because let me tell you, one of the best things that you can do when you're struggling is get that so important confidence by winning matches. And one method is to go down a level and play challengers. Now, it doesn't always work because challengers are absolutely brutal and those guys are insanely good. So even if you're a top 100 ATP player, you go to play a challenger, you still might lose first or second round. So it's not guaranteed that you're going to like blaze through the draw, not at all. But Korda did a similar thing in San Diego, where he made the final, lost to Svida, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. And then he went on to win Del Rey, beat Alcaraz in Miami, and so on. So it helped him tremendously. And he said in a interview during Miami that without San Diego, none of this would have been possible. And that's a challenger he's talking about. So Altmaier, after losing in Miami, goes to Napoli in Italy, and he makes it all the way to the final. where he loses to Medvedev, who was a phenomenal player with a big serve. So he won 4 matches in this tournament. And guess what? He shows up in Bucharest. In the first round, he plays Martinez, and he beats him 1-4. So Altmaier is back. He got an official ATP win under his belt. And that's all it takes sometimes. I think he's going to have a decent clay court season, and then he's going to continue to play well. But that's the nightmare of tennis. When you get stuck in this losing streak, all the confidence gets sucked out of you. You forget how to win. Even when you have chances to win, you still end up losing. And hopefully Arnaldi can snap out of this, because he's one of these Italian players that I have had high hopes for. You know, there's so many Italians in the top 100, but Arnaldi has had quite a steep drop-off. So I don't know if there are injuries involved, but in any case, it's always interesting to see when players have these ups and downs in their careers, for sure. All right, guys, let me take a look at the chat and see what's going on. We got 159 people in here, and let's see what you guys are talking about. Sinner is on a roll these days. Yeah, absolutely. Sinner is incredible what he's doing. Sunshine double. I think he's the 8th player ever to do that. It's incredible. Yes, it's so funny you bring out the WTA Finals. They're not going to be in Saudi Arabia anymore. They're going to be somewhere else. They don't know yet. Charlotte is a front runner, I think. And I got a topic down here, Eliza. She covers the WTA extensively, and I saw a video from her on Instagram, and she said that Charlotte is probably going to get it, but they don't know yet. I wish that Jannik could win Monte Carlo. I think he can, actually. I doubt that Alcaraz is going to win 3 out of 3 Masters on clay. Well, first and foremost, Alcaraz, being from Spain, he's going to have the same schedule as Rafa. He's going to play Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Madrid, and Rome. And I've heard people saying that he should skip one of those. This is absolutely insane. I'm going to tell you which tournaments Alcaraz should skip, and it's definitely none of the clay tournaments. Barcelona is a very important tournament for Carlos, just like it was for Nadal. You can get so much inspiration, so much confidence from winning that thing. And there's also a lot of pressure, so you get a lot of value from winning that thing at home. And then, of course, Madrid, very similar. So he should not skip any tournaments. Definitely not Monte Carlo. It's one of the most important clay court tournaments in the world of tennis. So the tournaments that Carlos should skip is Miami and the Canada Masters. Both of them he should skip. Sorry to say that, because those are great tournaments. I enjoy those tournaments, but for Carlos's longevity, I think it's smart to skip Miami, because there's something with Carlos in Miami. I talked about this during the tournament. I think he's like maybe mentally already ready to attack the clay court season, but maybe very similar to Rafa. Rafa never won Miami. He should have won. I'm still kind of mad that Rafa wasn't able to win. There was a couple of tough losses for Rafa, but nevertheless, those 2 tournaments, I think, for Alcaraz, Miami and Canada Masters, are going to be important to skip, especially the Canada Masters, because he's always going to do well. I'm saying always, but high likelihood of him doing well. Roland Garros, Wimbledon, back-to-back. And then skip that Canada Masters, extend your vacation a little bit. That's where Carlos Alcaraz gets his energy, by, taking some time off after Wimbledon. So that makes sense to me that he should skip one of those, but definitely not skip any of the clay court tournaments, because those are very important tournaments. I always get upset when people call these tournaments like warm-up tournaments or lead-up tournaments. Yeah, lead-up, okay, but warm-up, put respect on the tournament's name, because like a player could have the greatest results of his career by reaching the quarterfinals or semifinals of Monte Carlo, or maybe even going to the semis or the final, or winning one of these tournaments could be the greatest accomplishment for a player. For example, Fognini, okay, he won Monte Carlo. I hope I said it correctly. And then, of course, Rublev won it. I think Rublev won it, didn't he? And Tsitsipas won it 3 times. I don't know if Rublev won Monte Carlo, did he? No, Rublev won Madrid. He didn't win Monte Carlo. But Tsitsipas won it 3 times, okay? So that's Tsitsipas's greatest accomplishment. So these tournaments are so important, and they're not warm-up tournaments, and you got to play them. And of course, if you rampage through them, you give yourself fantastic chances in the most important clay tournament, which is Roland Garros. Very similar to the indoor season. Jannik Sinner went on that indoor rampage, and he played incredibly well at the ATP Finals. If he would have skipped a bunch of those tournaments, who knows how well he would have played at the ATP Finals. So I think these tournaments are very, very important for these top players to build confidence and to play as many of them as possible. Now, this doesn't apply to everybody. So maybe some of the players that are going to have better chances on grass and hard court, maybe they can skip Monte Carlo, or maybe they can't like show up in Madrid, which a lot of Americans like to do. And even though I'm not the greatest fan of that, it makes sense to some extent because they're going to have a long stretch of tournaments, grass, and then right away they're going to go to the United States, and there's going to be a ton of tournaments even prior to Canada. Not a ton, I think, two, but nevertheless, a lot of these guys will play a lot in the US. So a little bit different for each player, but like I said, put respect on the tournament's name. Let's see what else is going on here. I heard that Sinner is allergic to plants in Madrid. There's a big chance that he will not play it. Can you imagine if it's like record heat in Madrid and these plants that he's allergic to? I think he's still going to win, because Sinner is so good that even in conditions that don't suit him, he still manages to win these tournaments. I talked about in my last video that he's the best hot weather player, despite everybody saying that Sinner can't play in hot, humid conditions. Who has done better in hot, humid conditions than Sinner? No one, not even Alcaraz. I don't need to list the tournaments, but I will quickly. 2 Australian Open, Cincinnati, 4 Miami finals, 2 titles in Miami, US Open title. You get my point. Indian Wells title, hot conditions, Sinner wins. So the thing with the plants, I don't know. I have to look into that. That could be very difficult, but I still think that tournament out of all the clay tournaments is the one that's going to be the most favorable for Jannik. I think that one he can do really well in and win it multiple times. He hasn't won it yet, so we will have to see. Wait a second. Are you serious? Hi from Italy. We just lost to Bosnia, and we won't go to the World Cup for the 3rd time in a row. Luckily, there's Sinner in tennis. Is that true? Italy didn't qualify for the World Cup? I can't believe that. That's crazy. Sorry, guys. I know how much like football means to people in Italy. There were a few times where I went to Italy during World Cups in the past, and the whole country is like still. You won't see a person on the street. Like, it's similar in other countries too, of course. But yeah, that's really a shame that they couldn't qualify. Wow, I really wouldn't have thought that because, and 3 times in a row, I thought Italy did well. But I'm not a football expert, so don't ask me. Sinner is taking clay title this season. He must be so motivated after Sunshine Double. Obviously, he is tired a bit, but he will get back to his level. Okay, another theory that Sinner is tired. I don't think so. Do you really think Sinner's tired? He appear tired to you? He's winning everything in straight sets. And these are masters that are stretched out, so he sometimes will play consecutively, but rarely. Usually there's a day rest in between. I didn't detect any of that he's tired. Maybe he went down to his knees once in these last 2 weeks after a long rally. And don't mistake Sinner's body language in a match to like being tired. That's just Sinner. He's just limping around, and then he like sliding into the corners and running like crazy. That's just Sinner. No, I think he's an absolutely a beast on the court. It doesn't come across like that because of his build, but he's an absolute specimen, Sinner. So he's in top shape. It's another myth that he can't last in 5 sets. That myth will be debunked sooner than later, but the only thing is that he doesn't get to 5 sets that often because he wins so easily very often. And another problem is that he's probably playing against a player who's right now the best player when the match goes to distance, which is Alcaraz. Okay, nobody's better than Alcaraz when the match is extended. He's proven that with his match against Zverev at the Australian Open and many other matches. Alcaraz is a beast when the match is long. And if Sinner has to play him and the match is long, advantage Alcaraz. So I don't think that Sinner will lose those matches against other players, but I also don't think that Sinner will need 5 sets against those other players. So that's where that record and is a little bit weird. And I think it's a bit of a myth that Sinner is this weakling, like this guy that's gonna just melt in the sun and all his bones are gonna break on him when he's 30 years old. The guy's an absolute specimen. He's a beast. Of course he is. How else would he be able to beat Alcaraz, who is a specimen? You know, so it's crazy what people write sometimes. Sinner likely won't be playing Monte Carlo. Where'd you hear that? He's playing 100%. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Sinner is playing 100%. I think he's looking forward to it. Okay, I didn't see the previous. Oh, okay, this is interesting. What do you think Sinner's weaknesses is in clay court? What does he need to beat Alcaraz? And then somebody responds, weakness on clay, are you insane? He was 1 point away from winning Roland Garros. And then somebody else, oh no, the same person replies, no weaknesses whatsoever. Yes, I agree, no weaknesses whatsoever. That's 100% correct. Against Alcaraz, he can win, he can beat him. I mean, he's proven that. He was 1 point away from winning Roland Garros in the final against Alcaraz. So, and he also had chances in that first set in Rome. He can definitely beat Alcaraz on clay, and he will beat him on clay. Maybe this year. We have to see, but there's really nothing. I mean, the same weaknesses that Sinner has on hard court that we talk about, those come into play on the clay court as well. But Sinner is a phenomenal clay court player, and the players that have weaknesses on clay courts are the ones that have issues with movement. And tell me who's better sliding into the ball than Sinner. Of course, Carlos Alcaraz, it's the same, but Sinner slides into the ball so incredibly well, especially on the backhand side. If you listen to the serve interview with Rafa said how important the sliding is on clay. And Sinner is an incredible slider. And yes, he can play with the flat ball trajectory, but he has an incredible amount of RPM on his shots. So the one thing that will be interesting to see is whether he's going to continue to spray a few balls here and there and be a little bit shaky here and there from the baseline. We'll have to see. But I think actually on clay, with the fact that there's probably going to be more serves coming back, he'll have a better rhythm. And I think he'll play better from the baseline on clay. So yeah, no weaknesses whatsoever. His versatility has improved. Like this guy is by far the second best clay court player in the world. There's no one that's even close. Not even close to Sinner on clay. Is Fonseca a future clay court specialist? I think he can be. He played well in Buenos Aires in 2025. He won that tournament. But the same issues that Fonseca faces on hard court, he's going to face on clay, especially maybe even more so if he plays Sinner and Alcaraz. I think his chances are worse on clay against Sinner and Alcaraz than they are on a hard court because of some issues in defensive positions. Some movement issues, especially early this year, but even when he was playing better, still not moving that comparable to Sinner and Alcaraz. I'm not going to say he's moving poorly because that's another myth that's propagated on the internet. Fonseca is an exceptional athlete and an exceptional mover, but if you're comparing him to Sinner and Alcaraz, there's a discrepancy there. He's nowhere near in movement to those guys. So because of that, I think clay against those guys will be very difficult for him. But generally, clay, not a problem for Fonseca, and I think he can do exceptionally well. I hope he plays a lot of tournaments, actually. Hope he plays like Munich and some of those smaller tournaments. I actually would have liked to see him this week in Bucharest or the tournament in Morocco. He could have picked up some confidence there. And he can take some titles on clay, just like he did last year. So, okay, let's see here. We want more Ema. Emma is traveling right now. I haven't seen her in a long time. She's in I don't know if she's in China. She's in Asia right now. I think China. I could be wrong. She's going on a long stretch of tournaments. She was in Indian Wells. She actually almost got in as an alternate. I think she was third out or fourth out. And she was practicing there, and then she came to Miami, and then because she didn't get into Indian Wells, she didn't bother signing up for Miami. And it turns out that she would have gotten in if she would have signed up as an alternate. And somebody ranked lower than her got into the qualifying draw in Miami. And she was upset, of course. And then right after that, she went to Asia. So we actually had scheduled a match between her and Yevon, the third match, because Emma wanted the rematch. She lost to him twice. And we had a match scheduled, but it rained that day. And then the next day, Emma was in Miami, and we just couldn't put it together. But yeah, we're gonna have more matches with Emma for sure down the road. Also have a couple of really cool video ideas planned with Emma. Maybe we'll save that for the end of the year. But yeah, for sure, Emma is going to be back. Okay, guys. Are you in Miami? Have you attended a match at the Miami Masters? No, I didn't. I didn't have time. I did not have time to go down there um, because I was doing a video every day, and it was impossible. These videos that I'm doing take a lot of time, guys. You don't realize. 15, 20-minute video like that can take like, I don't know, anywhere from, oh, well, first of all, I got to watch the match and study the match. And sometimes I got to watch it again. So that's that. And then the process of like preparing for the video, doing the video, editing the video, it's like hours. It can sometimes be 3 hours, 4 hours. It's basically all day. It's an all day affair. And I have more control when I'm here, um, watching from multiple devices and so on. If I'm in the stadium sitting there, it's I'm not going to be able to observe as much, and therefore the analysis will be worse. So I have my methods of analyzing tennis matches. So yeah. All right, guys, let's talk about golf. And speaking of recording videos and editing videos, some of you guys were wondering why I didn't talk about golf against Sabalenka in Miami. And here's what happened. I had a problem with the microphone, and I did record a segment after I talked about Sinner Lehechka. And I realized this, of course, once I started editing, that there was something wrong towards the end of the video. And I was going to edit the video first and then go out and record that segment real quick again. But by the time I was done editing that first part, it was already so late. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do the men's final. And I was going to do this live stream actually yesterday, Monday. And I was going to do it that way. So long story short, I am here on Tuesday now talking about Gauff Sabalenka. So I respect the WTA and I cover it, even though some of you guys don't really like when I talk about WTA, but I cover the WTA. I'm very entertained by the matches. And I think it's very interesting what's happening. There's so many good players. And this was one of the most emotional finals for me anyway, because I could see the support for Coco and the crowd really helped her to get that second set because Sabalenka was very dominant, winning that first at 6-2. And the way Gauff clawed back and was able to win that second set 6-4, and the crowd got into it and they were going crazy. And so many people from Delray or generally the Palm Beach County area came down to Miami to watch that match. So also Gauff had a huge entourage of family with her. So a lot of support for Coco, and I love to see that because I've made so many videos defending Coco from all these trolls online, and she's such an incredible player. The fact that she can come through adversity, where she's playing poorly, hitting double faults, missing forehands, and she still figures out how to win and then plays better in the next match. In this tournament, she raised her level against Cocciaretto and against Alicia Parks. She was playing poorly. First set against Alicia Parks was really poor from Coco. And the way she raised her level, then played so much better against Kristea, played incredible match against Muhova, and against Sabalenka, she gave her a tough match. That second set, she was fighting and was able to break Sabalenka, won the second set 6-4 with some exceptional defense. And the ball that Coco plays, it's uncomfortable for a lot of players. It's very heavy, it's very lively on the forehand side. The backhand is more flat. And so she can draw errors from the opponents. That's how she was able to win Roland Garros. It's going to be interesting to see how she does this year there. But then in the third set, Sabalenka is just too good right now. She's the best player in the world. She wins the Sunshine Double by taking the third set, 6-3 against Coco. Phenomenal stretch of tournaments for Sabalenka. She got revenge on Rybakina a couple of times for losing to her in the WTA Finals and at the Australian Open. She got her a couple of times in a row. And especially that match in Miami against Rybakina, that was pretty dominant. The one in Indian Wells was, I'm not going to say lucky, but fortunate that Rybakina didn't serve a bomb on up match point on her serve in the tiebreak. So it's just an incredible level from Sabalenka right now. Clearly the best player in the world, and she's going to continue to collect big titles and put her name on the list of one of the greatest players of all time. But again, very emotional match for Coco. I love to see the support, and finally Coco made it deep in Miami. She didn't even get to the quarters prior to this year. So I think that she should be able to get some confidence from this tournament. It's so hard to say with Coco because, you know, some of the strokes betray her. Her second serve and the forehand just go away and makes it so tough for her. But theoretically, this tournament should give her a lot of belief to repeat the insane clay court season from last year. Because if I got this right, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think she made the Madrid final and the Rome final. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then, of course, she won Roland Garros. I don't think she's going to be able to repeat that. That's crazy good. That's going to be tough to repeat. Make it to all these big finals on clay. So we'll have to see with Coco, but nevertheless, this is one of the most important tournaments for her, and she finally made the final and did so good. So great to see. Okay, let's discuss what's going on in the chat, guys. Do you think Rybakina will claim clay titles this season? Yeah, maybe. It's so hard to say. Stuttgart, she could, and then Madrid, but she could even on the just like a classic clay course like Rome, or even Roland Garros. I think Rybakina is good enough to win those tournaments. But for sure, I would give her a great chance in Stuttgart and in Madrid. She can, but then so can Sabalenka and so can Iga. We'll have to see what's going to happen with Iga. I'm going to be watching Iga very, very closely when she plays Stuttgart because I was shocked with her level. Really shocked because after she beat Muhova like 2-0 or 2-1 in Indian Wells, I thought Iga was back, going to start rampaging again. But then this level from Iga appeared where she literally couldn't control the ball. She was going for the lines, missing the ball like crazy in the first set against Svitolina, and then also 4-all in the third. She's serving against Svitolina and literally could not find the court. Balls were missing by 2, 3, 4 meters, and just poor shot selection too, going for the kill right away. A very strange Iga, a very strange Iga. And then, of course, last year she had a similar situation and she snapped out of it and won Wimbledon. So we'll have to see if she can do it again. But for sure, it's interesting what's happening right now with her. But I want to respond to this right here. Sabalenka too good now for Coco. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you to some extent, but Coco made her life tough out there. And I don't going to say she could have won this match, but taking a set from this level of Sabalenka, because I thought Sabalenka played a great final, it shows how good Coco is and it shows how uncomfortable she is to play. No Topo Chico today. Yeah, I said this in the beginning. I'm drinking Gerolsteiner today. I actually stopped drinking Topo Chico. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, but I'm drinking Gerolsteiner from the beautiful town of Gerolstein in Germany, an hour south of Cologne. So if Gerolsteiner is listening, sponsor me. Come on, give me a sponsorship. But yeah, I'm drinking Gerolsteiner right now. It's a little bit pricey, but it's worth the investment because it's a very, very good water. It's rated really well. Rybakina best surface is, I think, grass. Her style suits with that serve. I agree with that. I would agree with that. I think Rybakina's best surface is grass. But, there's so many players that can do well on grass. And I know a lot of you guys are now going to say, Nick, you were absolutely insane. You lost it. Hang up the mic. But Iga is a phenomenal grass court player. Maybe not in the first week. She can be upset. She can go out in the first week when the grass is still somewhat slick. But once that grass gets used up, if we have a hot Wimbledon, dusty one, like that's where like Rafa was doing so well in Wimbledon, made 5 finals, right? Won 2 titles. He starts playing more like clay, and Iga can shine, but top level Iga, not Iga right now. So it's hard to say what will happen, but Iga can have a good chance. Of course, Sabalenka, she wants Wimbledon really bad because she didn't even make it to a final. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the best result is semifinals. So yeah, Rybakina probably the favorite, but I think the other players have a good chance too. I think Sinner doesn't care about 500 tournaments like Barcelona. Did you see him play in Vienna? That was 500. You see how much he cared about that? You saw him in Doha. Um, how upset he was for losing to Menchik. You got to put respect on the tournament's names. Like I said in the beginning, these are important tournaments. Barcelona, one of the most important tournaments on the calendar. Maybe not for everyone, right? So maybe not for like back in the day for Andy Roddick or for Roger Federer or even for Novak Djokovic, not an important tournament per se. But for some players, it's maybe the most important tournament of the year. Like Fonseca, for him, the most important tournament of the year is Rio, by far. More important than Roland Garros and Wimbledon combined, in my opinion. So you got to put respect on the tournaments' names. These are the best tournaments in the world. And I hate that maybe 250s are going to get cut because 250s are incredibly important. Like every tournament has its own value, its own meaning, and even the Challenger Tour. So this whole thing that these players don't care about tournaments, no, they need to preserve their body. They need to be very careful with the scheduling because they're going deep in every tournament. And Sinner has absolutely nothing to gain from playing Barcelona, absolutely nothing. So that's why he won't be playing it. Okay, so I think some players also have a contract or some sort of agreement to play some tournaments, so they might play 500s too. So yeah, I mean, there's been so many YouTube videos on this topic. ATP 1000s are mandatory, so there are no appearance fees, but everybody knows that 250s and 500s pay players, and these players have a very high rate. So Sinner demands like million or above, maybe even more. I know Federer was like 1.5 million and Nadal. So to get like a Sinner and an Alcaraz to a 250 or a 500, the tournament pays $1 million or above to get them there, and it's well worth it because that's like money well spent because now you can advertise that Sinner is coming and you're gonna sell sponsorship spots and you're gonna sell tickets and all that, TV rights and all that. So it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, those are not mandatory, those tournaments, and players uh, that are ranked highly get appearance fees, not only Sinner and Alcaraz, but also other players. I don't know if like Serve talked about that. Like these guys, they know about this way better than I do because Roddick used to get appearance fees. So I think they made an episode on that and provided some figures and stuff like that. So yeah, the only tournaments that don't pay are the mandatory ones, Masters 1000 and Grand Slams. All right, guys, let's talk about the next subject on the board, and that's calf. That's my calf muscle. Okay, some of you guys have asked me, Nick, how you doing? And I gotta tell you, I was limping for weeks. It was insane. I thought I pulled my Achilles. So if something was hurting like here, right in the beginning of that match. And what happened on that day was like so unfortunate. Okay, I'll tell you the whole story. So I had a plan last year after I finished my racket testing series to start getting in shape, start playing matches. Then I had a little bit of a racket problem. Okay, we're not going to get into that right now, but finally I was ready to play because I had injured my back paddleboarding in the summer and I was ready to play when I came back from Europe and I was training and everything. And then I played Yevon in a match. I put it on YouTube. You can look it up. And I thought I played okay. I mean, it wasn't the greatest tennis, but at least I served okay. It wasn't embarrassing or anything like that. And I lost like 9-7 or something like that, which I thought was all right. And I had chances to win, actually. I was up a break. So I was like motivated. I said, I can do a lot better than this. I can continue to practice. So the next day or a couple of days later, I scheduled a practice session with one of my practice partners, Mikey, who I also featured in a video. You can look it up, student versus coach. And I hurt my left calf in this match. And I took like a month off, something like that. Then I came back. It felt good. I thought it healed up. And I played Milan in a set because Milan is not here right now. He's doesn't live in this area anymore. He will be back, but not right now. So when he's in town, I love to play against him because that was my main practice partner. He used to play several times per week with Milan, and he brings everything back in play. It's a great guy to play if you want to get in shape. And I love our battles, long rallies, especially when we play on clay. So I was excited to play against him, and this is so unfortunate. So my mom was here in the wintertime, and my mom used to watch me play when I played in Germany, and I loved when my mom would come with me to the matches, and she would like calm me down. She was like a calming influence on me. And she has not seen me play tennis in probably, I don't know, probably I would say like 30 years. No, maybe not 30, maybe like, yeah. No. Yeah, probably no, not 30. Probably like in 25 years, she hasn't seen me play a match. She has not seen me play a match in 25 years. So a long time. So I was like, "Mom, do you want to come watch me? I'm playing Milan today." She's like, "Yeah, cool, let's do it. Then we can go get dinner afterwards or something like that. Cool, it'll be fun." So I go play Milan, and my mom is there watching for the first time, and I lose 6-0, and I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. And then I started playing a little bit better in the second set, and I was up 2-1. But the whole time I was playing, I felt something in my right calf on the other side. So the left one felt fine, the right calf. And in the warm up, I was trying so hard to impress my mom, I guess, and I pulled something on the other side, the other calf. And then I felt it the whole time during the match, but not bad. Like I could still play, but it was a pain. I did something to the calf. And then I think I was up 2-1 in the second, or no, actually down 2-1. I'd won my first game in the second set. It was 1-1 or something like that. I did win a game, and then Milan had to go. Oh man, I was like, I can't believe you decided to come watch this level of me. Um, but anyway, so I took another, let's see, a while off after that because that was in sometime in January, I think, or maybe December. And then maybe like 2 weeks ago, it was during Indian Wells. I'd scheduled another match, and I've been hitting a little bit on the ball machine, and I felt okay. But the one mistake I made is that I didn't really train that much, and I wasn't in great to shape to play matches. So I'd scheduled a match with Yevon, and I was in the middle of Indian Wells, and I forgot about it. Even though I put it on my schedule, I completely forgot about it because I was so in the zone for Indian Wells. And Yevon texts me from the court. He goes, "I'm here." I'm like, "Oh my god, I forgot. I'll be there in 5 minutes." So I got to the court, and I'm like, "So sorry." And I'm like, "Do you mind if I record some segments, like on the changeovers, like for a couple minutes, and then when you leave, I'll record the rest?" And he's like, "Yeah, no problem, all good." And again, first game, I ran for a ball, and I started feeling something here in my left calf, and I kept playing because on this particular day, like my serve was feeling good. And I made a short video about this. I'm finally starting to love the Pure Drive Plus again. I'm serving well, so I haven't really played tennis that much, but that day I was like serving so well, and it felt fast and it felt effortless. So it was great. I was holding serve, and I actually broke Yevon. I was up 3-1, and but I felt something in my left calf. And in that 3-1 game, and I showed this in a video. I think it's the Andreeva match that I covered, and the Kovacevic Djokovic match during Indian Wells. I featured this point where my left leg absolutely exploded. I felt an incredible pain, and I couldn't walk. And I was actually scared that I might have ruptured my Achilles, but something completely tore in here. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what it is. Um, and so it not the Achilles. It turns out it wasn't the Achilles. It's for sure the calf. But in any case, I couldn't even walk for like a week after that, and then it started getting a little bit better. And now I'm not limping anymore, but I still feel it a little bit. So I want to make sure that this time I get myself in shape. I do a lot of rehab because I do want to come back and play, but it's just a situation where I'm not in good enough shape to play, and then I'm taking these long breaks and I'm jumping into sets too early. Um, and I always record, so I'm extra pumped when I record. It's like the competitive juices come back. So yeah, I'm gonna wait a while and make sure that I don't hurt myself again, because I've heard some people told me that this is so close enough to the Achilles, and maybe this is like something that can lead into an Achilles tear. And I really don't want a Achilles tear. That would destroy me. Like, that would 9-month recovery. I know somebody very close to me that had Achilles tear playing pickleball, surgery. I don't want that. So I want to make sure that I come back fit, but for sure I want to try to feature more matches of myself, because those are fun. I mic'd up, I tell you what I'm doing wrong, and maybe you can identify with my mistakes. And those are fun. I think it's good content, but I have to be patient and get healthy first. Okay, we got a couple of things. This one is going to be really interesting, guys. So stay tuned. Coaching. I do want to rant on that one a little bit. Let me take a look in the chat real quick, and then we're gonna go on. Okay. Hi, Laura. How you doing? I recognize you, Laura. You leave a lot of comments. Thank you for watching my videos, for sure. I recognize a lot of you guys. I feel like there's a nice community of people that are very passionate about professional tennis, or just a nice community of people on my channel anyway. But more specifically, these like pro match videos that I do, I recognize a lot of names, and I love that you guys are passionate about the game of tennis. I'm the same way. I don't miss a single week of tennis. Like this week, to me, like I'm watching Charleston. Andrescu won today, which I was very happy to see. Andrescu was playing ITF. She played a tournament that Emma played in Weston, which was like was it 15K or 30K? She played like the lowest level tournament. Andrescu, and didn't even win it. That's the crazy thing. She won the previous week and then lost in the semis, I think. So she won today um, against Dalma Galfi, which was nice to see because Andrescu was struggling. So anyway, I could talk about tennis all day long. Like, I followed the results nonstop, all tournaments, challengers, everything. Like, yeah, I will do this for the rest of my life. I've always done this. I did this as a little kid. Of course, there was no internet, but used to like study the tennis magazines. That's why like I went to Murray State in the first place, because I recognized the name Mel Purcell, because Mel Purcell had taken out Boris Becker in Hamburg in '86 after Becker had won Wimbledon already. And I was like, wow, I can be coached by that guy. So yeah, so I always tried to study the rankings, was looking at the results, and I was always interested in pro tennis because it's fun. It's a fun sport to follow, for sure. I can't wait for your predictions on Wimbledon and US Open. Yeah, I for sure will do the draw, like, analysis. I'll write out the draw for all the Grand Slams. That's so fun. People always tell me, stop predicting, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Like, but I gotta tell you again, like, there used to be something called the Tennis Channel Racket Bracket. Do you remember that? Long time ago, Racket Bracket. They used to fill those out. Like, I didn't even do videos, just for fun. So this is like, I love it. I love filling it out and see what happens. By the way, I don't ever gamble. Okay, I never gambled in my life on tennis. That's stupid. That takes all the fun out, in my opinion. It puts stress. It's terrible. So no, a lot of people were like asking me for advice, and I still ask for advice, like, what's going to be the score, who's going to win. Like, I'm not answering you. Like, this is not supposed to be like advice for gambling, because I got like I was on a roll last year with some predictions, and even in 24, when I predicted Djokovic to take out Alcaraz at the Olympics, and then I got everything right last year with Sinner and Alcaraz except Rome. So I got Alcaraz for Roland Garros, I got Sinner for Wimbledon, and I got Alcaraz for U.S. Open, and then I got Sinner for the indoor season. Also got Rybakina for WTA Finals. So people started asking me like, these are like betters and stuff, and I don't want nothing to do with that. I would never take a betting sponsor. I don't want nothing to do with that because I talked about this with my mom. Like that would completely kill the pleasure of what I do if I start involving money in the process. It would completely kill the fun. And I can't stand it. So yeah, I'm not about that. It's just passion, pure passion for me that I, again, do it completely for free just because I love it. Any chance you could make a video on Pancho Gonzales? You know, I've talked about this a long time ago on my channel. I'm not an expert on tennis from the wooden racket era. When my dad was alive, I would always ask him about that era, and he would explain a lot of things to me from that era, but I'm not knowledgeable enough on that era to be able to speak on it. It's so difficult to find enough info to make conclusions on technique. I've made some videos on, for example, the serve. I've done a lot of research on the serve, even from the wooden racket era, and of course on the ground strokes as well. So to that extent, I know quite a bit about how technique used to be, the evolution of technique, even from the wooden racket era. I mean, I've made videos on like Roy Emerson, Rod Laver, Bjorn Borg. I did a tribute video, even on Suzanne Langlan. I did a video on forehand rotation. Arthur Ashe, he's the first guy to get both feet off the ground and land on his left foot as a right-handed player. He was the first one to do that. So yeah, I can do that, but I can't tell you in depth. I don't know that many players. I know the players that everybody knows, like Nastase, Ash. Like I know the legends from back then, but couldn't tell you enough about players from that era. Actually, I just stumbled upon there's a big podcaster that had somebody on that had beaten McEnroe, and I've never heard his name. So never heard the guy's name. So the wooden racket era is I'm not knowledgeable enough. And Pancho Gonzales, I know a little bit about him, but I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about him. I would have to be educated on him to be able to tell you, but because I just don't know. Cinemaniac, I'm just in. I don't know what I've missed. Jannik must skip Madrid for sure for now on. I prefer him skip Monte Carlo this year, but he lives there. Okay, I recognize you because you always write Center Maniac. I appreciate you watching my videos. I appreciate your comments. But this video is going to be uploaded later. It's going to be a regular video. And just go back. I'll timestamp the whole thing. And just go back and listen to what I said about the clay court season and putting respect on these tournaments. So yeah, I don't think Sinner should skip anything. He should play Monte Carlo, Madrid, Rome. If he just plays Rome, this is stupid. That's not enough. What if he loses in the second round? Now he's going to probably sign up for Geneva to get more matches. That's really not a smart idea. So yeah, no, he can't skip anything. He's going to play those three. Now he doesn't need to add anything. That I talked about that. Okay, guys, let me go on to the next topic, which is kind of a juicy one. I've discussed this before, and I really don't like talking about it, but I just want to. I had something on my mind during the entire, you know, let's say almost a month of Indian Wells in Miami, and I do want to talk about on-court coaching right here. On-court coaching, guys. On-court coaching. I do want to get this off my chest because, listen, I've discussed in many videos that coaching inside of a match is a low efficacy thing. It's not that effective as people make it out to be. Of course, it depends on the coach, on the player as well. Some players will do better with coaching than others. So it's so many factors to consider. So I'm not even talking about that, even though I've made videos in the past where I kind of like showed that I have low efficacy as a coach inside of a match. There's not that much that I can do in a match because players get in such a headspace sometimes. They can only get themselves out of that headspace. A coach can certainly help sometimes some players, but not all. Some players get stuck in this negativity and they just have to get themselves out of this. And a coach, even though the coach might try, can't really do that much. So I've discussed this in previous videos where there was a match that I featured very early on Intuitive Tennis, maybe 2019 or 2020 with Alex. Sorry, I gotta sneeze. Jesus. Okay. With Alec. I mispronounced his name and I had to sneeze after. That was the punishment. Not Alex, Alec. Alec versus Wellington. And they played 2 sets, and I coached one guy one set, the other guy the other set. And I started coaching Alec and he was playing well. He won 6-2. And you could say, oh, great coaching, Nick, great coaching. Okay. But then I coached Wellington and he lost 6-1. And he was so nervous because he was playing on camera and he got really tight. And there was nothing that I could do. I was trying to give him tips and I was trying my best to help him, but there was no helping him. He could only help himself. Then another example is, or not one example, but a lot of examples with Shamir. For example, when he played Emma, I tried to help Shamir, and there was no helping Shamir because a lot of people misinterpreted what I was doing with Shamir as like, you know, uh, this is how coaching is supposed to be done. But no, to be really honest with you, like I stopped doing that, and now I give players an option to request coaching if they want to, because I do think that adds value to the video. But it was more something that I did for the entertainment factor, and maybe just as a practice match. I did tell Shamir, listen, treat this as a practice match. We're going to work on things, but I don't think it's good to break up the match in a way where you're talking for, after every other point, and it's not good for the opponent. It's not good for the player. So I really don't do that anymore. I did it in the past, and I stopped doing it because it's, first of all, it does not that effective anyway, and then also it doesn't really help the player that much and breaks up the match in a way where it hurts the level of the match, I think. So anyway, long story short, on-court coaching, it can certainly help sometimes. For the right coach and the right player, they can maybe see something, give a tip, and they can make a great result on the court. For sure, that can happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but often it is things that we don't want to hear as spectators. And now, unfortunately, everybody's mic'd up, so we can exactly hear what the coaches are saying. And unfortunately, it's not all coaching. Have you ever been to a junior tournament where there are parents and coaches behind the fence and they're cheering on their kid? And after every point, it's like, come on, you got this, vamos, ale, come on, idemo, comiets, like all these languages, and it's nonstop, like it gets on your nerves, It's like every point, and it's clapping and screaming and hooting and hollering. When I hear this on TV and they're mic'd up, it ruins the match for me. I'm not going to name any names. I'm not going to give you specific examples, but I'll just tell you that in the last 2 tournaments, Indian Wells and Miami, it was so annoying to listen to. This constant, like, the team pumping their player up. Why do we need to listen in on that? Like, what's the entertainment value there? I get that that helps the player. Some players want that and need that. I think Sinner's actually a guy that needs that. Sinner requests energy from his team. So it's not like that's different. Like, it helps to have somebody supporting you there that's close to you. I'm not saying it doesn't, but why do we have to listen in on that? And like listen to people saying, come on, you got this and stuff like that. On top of that, sometimes, there's, of course, I better not get into this, but like, the things that are said to the player, let's just, I'm not gonna get into it, but you get my point. Like, I think the mic'd up coaching is not a great addition to the game of tennis. There's a reason why they got rid of it on the WTA tour. For you guys that don't know, for a while they had coaches mic'd up and they were allowed to go to the bench on the WTA tour, and we could listen on this. And this was such a disaster. There are YouTube compilations made of these interactions with the player and the coach that it was horrendous. I'm not saying all of them. There were for sure some good ones, but there were a lot of bad ones. So WTA got rid of this, and now we're hearing this, this mic'd up stuff. And coaches are put on a pedestal. It's always complimented, whatever they say, even if it's the worst thing you ever heard. It's always complimented. So I just wanted to share that, get off my chest, that mic'd up coaching box, it's really distracting for spectators. Maybe you guys didn't even hear that because I watch it on stream and maybe there's different mics. So maybe you guys didn't even hear that because some matches don't even have commentary that I watch. So maybe it's that. But in any case, I wish they got rid of that. Just turn the mic off, you know? Then it's way better for everyone, I think. All right, guys. Next topic on the board. This one's going to be a little bit of a plug for the YouTube channel. So Eliza plus elbow. Eliza plus elbow. So I got a video with Eliza. Uh, for you guys that are on Instagram, I'm sure you know her. She's like um, a content creator that like deals with fashion and gives you updates on WTA, ATP. A fantastic Instagram account. Like she blew up. She was on my channel in 2023, I think. She went to the WTA Finals when it was in Cancun, and it wasn't a good event. And I had her on my channel where she talked about that experience. And then I was on her Instagram live, I think in 24, and we finally were able to do a lesson on the court. We had planned it for a while. She was in Miami during the Miami Open, and we were able to get together. And so I gave her a lesson, and it was quite good. So that's going to come out tomorrow. Okay, so tune in for the lesson with It's Eliza's World tomorrow, Wednesday. And then on Friday, guys, elbow, the tennis elbow series, the tennis elbow masterclass continues on the Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel. There's a total of 8 videos. There's a lot of short form content as well. So it's going to be more than 10 videos on tennis elbow altogether, and they're going to be coming out slowly. They're already available on Intuitive Tennis Premium, guys. Sign up for Intuitive Tennis Premium if you want to support Intuitive Tennis. It's a monthly subscription, very low price. And I have content on there that's like exclusive. So there are courses, there are different things such as the roll of the elbow, roll of the wrist. There's the swing path mastermind. There's the problems at the rec level collection of videos. There are intuitive tennis tactics. There are many, let's say, courses that are exclusive to the premium membership site. Those videos are not on YouTube. I also put all my other videos on there. So you get the pre-releases, stuff that's been already recorded, like the tennis elbow masterclass that's going to be coming out on YouTube in drips and drabs, so to speak. There you can watch the whole thing right away. So subscribe to Intuitive Tennis Premium, and you get to see more Intuitive Tennis content. But this week on Intuitive Tennis, make sure that you subscribe to Intuitive Tennis on YouTube. And tomorrow it's Eliza, and then Friday it's Dr. Adrian, where we discuss how tennis technique can affect tennis elbow. It's going to be a great video. All right, guys, let's take a look at the chat and see what's going on here. Never had tennis elbow, knock on wood. Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that. Then don't watch the videos. I tell people, like, I'm very honest with people. Like, when it comes to tennis videos, you're safe to watch any of my pro analysis. Watch as much of it as you want. Nothing's going to happen to your game. You might even get some benefits regarding your game. But let's say you have like a forehand that you worked on a lot, you corrected technical flaws, and now it's working well. It's become a weapon. You're hitting winners and you're hitting it really well. But yet you continue to watch technical videos on the forehand. This is not a smart thing to do, because it can potentially put something in your head where you start thinking about certain things on your forehand or any other shot, and all of a sudden it gets worse. So when something is working, don't watch technical videos on it. And when you don't have tennis elbow, keep doing what you're doing, and don't watch my tennis elbow videos. So this is a situation where I say don't watch my videos. There's no reason to. Let's take a look what else is going on, guys. What do you think about Amanda and Iga changing coaches? I really don't know. I'm not in that circle. I don't have any inside information, even though Amanda Anisimova's old coach is one of my practice partners. And then her first coach is somebody that I played in college. That's the guy that coached her from scratch. So I do know some of her old coaches, but again, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And sometimes, with like Medvedev, for example, he changed his team and started playing a lot better. So sometimes it's a good thing to do. You got somebody new that comes in, and you get some new ideas. You get motivation that way. It can be good, but sometimes it can be bad. It can be like a roller coaster too, where you're just going from one coaster to another. So it's so tough in tennis. So I really can't give you anything more on that. Don't think I've seen you live before. Yeah, I do lives a lot. I do them after big tournaments. I do them after Grand Slams, but also after some other tournaments. I did a live racket collection, and even back in the day, I used to do lives. I tried different things, like I did lives on the court, like live surf practice, live ball practice. I did a live practice session with Milan. I even did a live match or like a live tiebreak. And so I used to do them differently, but I think it's nice to do these after big tournaments because everybody's still kind of pumped about the tournament. I ideally would have liked to release this one yesterday. Didn't have time yesterday, and the weather was so bad yesterday. So I'm doing it now. So yeah, I'm doing lives quite a bit. Who do you think is the best player right now, Jannik or Carlos? Yeah, right now it's Jannik, right? So in the beginning it was Carlos, and right now it's Jannik. So it's always like going to be back and forth between these two guys. That's my guess. It's always going to be back and forth. They're so good. They're the same level because people get so crazy. Now Jannik is the best. Alcaraz is no good, and then when Alcaraz is winning, Jannik is nowhere near Alcaraz. Alcaraz is the greatest player in history. No, this is 50-50, and especially with the fact that they're going to meet each other in the final, they're going to be confident that both of them can win that match on any surface, even Alcaraz indoors. He proved that he can beat Sinner indoors in the ATP Finals last year in the final. He played a great match and potentially hurt himself in the second set. He had a good chance to take at least one set there. So 50-50 match, it's just momentum within a season. Maybe down the road, somebody will have a slump for a while. Maybe they have a poor season in its entirety, or poor couple of seasons. Who knows what can happen, right? So maybe one guy will go ahead, like Djokovic did a little bit. But at the end of the day, even with Djokovic, it's the same level with Rafa, right? Like, okay, you can make an argument for surfaces, hard court, definitely Djokovic advantage, but on clay, maybe Rafa a little bit advantage. But like, this is very similar level, right? So I know you guys, this is not a good comparison. I should have even brought it up. But yeah, with Sinner and Alcaraz, of course, different dynamic than Nadal and Djokovic. But I don't think one is better than the other. Long story short. Oh, this is a fantastic question. Can you speak about what do you gain and what do you lose if you put on weight as a tennis player? I asked about Jannik. How do you like for him to put on 3 or 5 kilos, and how the analogy works between? That is a fantastic question. And I've discussed this in many videos. I've actually did some crazy stuff on the YouTube Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel, some insane challenges and stuff. In 2022, I think, right? Was it 2022? I did a weight loss challenge. Or was it 2023? I think it was 2023. I couldn't tell you exactly. Maybe it was 2022. I think it was 2022. Always when my mom is here, I put on weight. Okay. This is like, it's a Croatian thing, it's a cultural thing. We like eating is something that's very important in Croatia, and eating together and sitting at the table for a while and cooking and all that. So I have like a very clean diet, and I don't eat that much when I'm by myself. But then when she's here, I eat more and I gain a little bit of weight. And it's by the one year I really let myself go. That from 2021 to 2022, I really put on a lot of weight. Like I put on like 35 pounds or something like that in like 3 months. And I kind of did it on purpose because I planned to do like a weight loss challenge. I wanted to do a weight loss challenge, and I was going to do it on YouTube. But then I decided like it was kind of gross to do it on YouTube. So I put this on my website on Intuitive Tennis Premium. You can see a documentary. It's an hour long. My process of losing. I think I lost like 22 pounds in 2 months. It was a 2-month challenge, 2-month tennis body transformation. But overall, I lost all the weight. Like in 3-4 months, I lost all the weight. How I did it, and what exercises, what diet, and so on. Um, and back to your question, I've done this several times in my life because any European that comes to the United States gains weight right away. That's like a classic thing. So I was very skinny when I was playing in Europe. And then when I played my freshman year in college, I right away gained like maybe 15, 20 pounds, like right away. Um, and I kind of kept that weight for 3 years until I started reading an ATP booklet. The ATP used to have these booklets. And in the booklet was like all the information of the players, their height, their weight, and all that, the results and all that. And I saw guys my height, 6'5", and nearly all of them were like 185, or maybe one guy was like 190. I think back then, like the heaviest guy back then was like, I don't remember now. Maybe Roddick was like 200 pounds. I couldn't tell you now, but on average, a guy my height would weigh like 185, sometimes even less, maybe a little bit more, but never 200 or rarely 200, and definitely not like in the 220s. But my weight throughout college was 220. And let me tell you, I played well in college and I served exceptionally well. And I discussed this in my match that I featured on YouTube when I um, started this weight loss challenge with Milan. And at that time, I had not played a match in a very long time. So um, you can watch that match. You would have to type in, I don't know, maybe like D1 versus D2 intuitive tennis. You'll find it. Um, so long story short, this is a very interesting question because when I was in college and I read that booklet and I saw that guys were a lot lighter than me because I was 220, I decided to get on this weight loss like journey, and I started like doing a lot more cardio, and I started eating a little bit cleaner, and I got down to like 185. I remember I was 185 in my senior year in college, and I played well in college in the first 3 years. My teammates told me, and not just one, but several of them, that I had lost power in my senior year, and I didn't think I did, but they were saying I did. I didn't perceive that I lost power, but everybody was saying that I wasn't hitting the serves quite as big, and maybe from the baseline too. And then I put it to the test in that match with Milan, D1 versus D2. In the beginning of my 2 month tennis body transformation, I was like 235, and then I played Milan 2 months later at 218 or something like that. I don't remember, like way lighter, and I played him again. And at that particular time, I didn't really feel a difference, but you know, it wasn't that great of a test because I'd worked out a lot. So I was in a lot better shape 2 months later. So I played really well. But I do believe that it's very dangerous to shift your weight in tennis, especially when we're talking about like 20 pounds. That's too much. That's going to throw those things off. Maybe you can get away with like 5 pounds. That's okay. But even 10, I would be careful. And I would definitely be careful, you know, doing this because it can definitely mess with your balance, maybe, or your overall like biomechanics. It's very difficult to explain, but for sure, it can have either a positive effect or a negative effect, um, to the point where you might feel a little bit like lighter on your feet and fitter, and that can help you. But if you lose weight, you might feel a little bit less pop on your serve. Like that's maybe what was happening with me. Like I did feel fitter and I was like lighter and I had more endurance in my senior year in college, but everybody was saying that like I didn't have that much heat on my serve because I'd like dropped 35 pounds. So this is dangerous in the game of tennis too. When players go both ways, either they gain weight or they lose weight, I wouldn't mess with it. I'd like, of course, you can put on some muscle and stuff like that, but even with that, you gotta be careful. Like the most of the muscle should be put on in the legs. And usually, when players already come on tour, they start developing those legs from the matches that they play on the tour. There's nothing that develops legs more than actual tennis matches than playing on tour. So That's my opinion on that. Very dangerous. I wouldn't recommend it. Of course, when somebody's like way out of shape and overweight, you gotta drop weight. But that's obviously not the case on the ADP tour, right? But yeah, if you're too heavy on the court, you gotta drop the weight for sure. But if you're like fit, just for the sake of your game to start adding weight and building muscle or doing stuff like that, very dangerous, and I don't recommend it by any means. You gotta keep your weight because your entire body is calibrated and all your strokes are calibrated to the weight that you have. And things can be thrown off. I wonder how much Opelka weighs. I know that Isner was like 230 or 240 even. Of course, those guys are taller, so it's different, right? Golfers can lose power if they lose too much weight. Interesting. Okay, guys, let me do one more question here, and then we're gonna we're gonna call it. Okay, guys. This is an interesting one. Carlos is not mentally tired. Oh, I thought you were gonna say Carlos is mentally tired, and I was gonna rip on this one. Okay, it's not mentally tired. Yeah, I agree. He's not. Especially he got a little bit of extra time off now. I think he's gonna be pumped in Monte Carlo. Okay, let me find a good question to close it out on because I got through the board here quite good. Um, let's see. Hi from Hong Kong. Nice to catch that part of the stream. We play a lot of tennis here. That's awesome. I do have some students from Hong Kong. That's great. A lot of tough conditions I hear. Very humid, right? Okay, I'm not really finding any questions. I don't think you guys are kind of talking to each other. Um, yeah, a lot of the stuff that I already talked about. I want to see. Okay, this is a kind of a technical one. Nick, do you have any thoughts on the kind of jackknife serve motion, or is there a specific video you talked about it? Ruud and Atman use it to generate the same pain. No, that's not a jackknife serve. That's a quick serve. A jackknife serve, if you type in intuitive tennis jackknife, you'll see what a jackknife serve is. It's a situation where the feet end up behind the baseline and the upper body collapses. It's like a jackknife, like this. And that's a jackknife serve. They don't have a jackknife serve, they have a quick serve. And that's very popular with the fans. People love the Altman serve, they love the Rude serve. Everybody always brings up Roscoe Tanner, the Bryan brothers, Nick Kyrgios, Dolgopolov. But that's a very rare style that it's very difficult to pull off. Most players will not be able to pull that style off. But again, like, you'll hear often that that's supposed to be a great service motion for everyone. That's not true. Most players will benefit from giving themselves a little bit more time on the serve to build up that acceleration more gradually and also to give themselves more time to load their body and so on. So while certainly a quick serve can work, especially at the high level, I don't really see it that often successfully executed at the lower levels because it's quite a difficult serve to pull off. And a lot of these people that are in the comments saying, I have a Kyrgios style serve, I'm serving so fast. I don't know why, these people would be nice if they provide some evidence to their claims because I haven't seen it executed well that often. Usually when people have a quick serve, they don't really like use the lower half of their body. It's like all arm. That's what I usually see. Like they just can't sync their body properly. And it's very difficult to load the body and sync everything and unload everything when everything's happening so quickly, right? And on top of that, what I tell players is that if you're working on your serve and you have a quick serve, the serve is over in a flash, and it's going to be very difficult to focus on a specific part of your serve if you're doing everything so fast. it makes it very difficult to fix things inside of a quick serve, so you need progressions and stuff. So not recommended for the rec level unless you naturally have a quick serve that's always worked well, then it's okay. But you end up with a lot of problems. But if you just read the comments or you listen to people, you would think that that's the way to serve. That's going to fix everything, but it's for sure not going to do that. It's going to do the opposite. It's going to create a tremendous amount of problems on your serve. All right, guys, let me see here. Okay, I already talked about center enough. Okay, I lost weight due to lots of yoga and noticed I had less weight on shot, but the opposite makes you sluggish and less light on your feet. Yeah, exactly. You know, there could be some truth in the fact that when there's less mass in your body, that you feel a little bit less power. But at the same time, you want to feel light. Like there's a big advantage in that. So you got to kind of find the sweet spot. So when it's like a few pounds here and there, I think it's perfect. But when we're talking about like 20 pounds, that's where like you'll see big differences. And I don't think it's good. All right, guys, let's call it. Okay, this was a little bit quicker Q&A than normal. The Grand Slam ones were like 2 hours. I don't know how long this one was, but probably not 2 hours. We'll take a look. But I'm very appreciative of everyone in the comment section. I recognize a lot of you guys from the videos. And again, we got some great content this week on intuitive tennis. We got Eliza tomorrow. We got a tennis elbow on Friday. That's only if you have problems with tennis elbow. Don't tune in, and just for the sake of tuning in, or maybe you can. And in any case, I'm super pumped for Monte Carlo. I will be covering that tournament, and I'm very excited. It's my favorite part of the year. Then we got Barcelona. We got BMW Open, one of my other favorite tournaments. I love that tournament. And then, of course, Madrid, my least favorite tournament during the clay court season. I'll be honest, I don't really like that one. And then I love Rome and, of course, Roland Garros. So a lot of great things coming up. And I will see you guys very soon.